Motion carries 6-0. We'll hear from, Treasurer Ratchet. I love it, I like it.
That's right. All right, you have the listing of what was currently posted. In Fifth Third Bank, we actually have a little brokerage account that's carrying $48.48. But in the South State, it's showing 37.30. The actual as of today is 41.61. So that means there's more coins from this laundry machines we were put in. Fifth Third checking, we're showing 147.934. As of today, it was 112.315, which means we paid our bills. The Fifth Third savings, we had a little increase. We're now at $879,339.40. It went up a little bit over $1,000. This was printed. Bank of America is consistent. Barwick is right on. The Launch Credit Union, we got a little money brought in, a little over $100 brought in, so instead of $50,918.97, it's $61.26. PNC, it's about $800 left right now. Instead of $961, it's $963.98.02, and that just means service fee was applied. But we're sitting at about that $2,190,000 right now. And then once we get on, well, Kathy's got something to bring up later about the, remember that woman came and did the presentation for Bank of America, and we moved $100,000 over. She's got some ideas that she's going to present today. Am I right?
Well, I wasn't going to present them, but I have the information, so I can, if you all want to.
Right, and I was wondering if we should too, because, you know, and also after
And these
spending time with.
recommendations that actually came from Julianne.
Yeah, I spent some time with Julianne the other day, and so,
We should might as well listen to it.
yeah, so it's probably under financials is a good point to do it.
You wanna, all right, let's do that then. So I did not bring you all copies of that because I wasn't planning to present, but basically, we get $100,000 in Fifth Third, and that's in the savings account. We've now converted, I believe, all of our credit cards over to, Bank of America. And over the past 3 or 4 days, we've been working on taking all of the credit cards where we have automatic, payments and converting those over to Bank of America. So what Julianne, has suggested is to make sure that we have enough money in Bank of America that we go ahead and transfer $500,000 from Fifth Third over there, and she thinks that will get us through until the end of the fiscal year. To go along with that, in August, there is a CD from PNC that matures that's $219,000. So if that 500 doesn't get us through the 219, if we add that to the Bank of America account, definitely will. Now, she has recommended that we not make any major changes with what comes out of Fifth Third in terms of payroll and other transactions that we do through the end of the year to make it easier on the auditors. Because if they have a consistent
End of the
account-
fiscal year.
End of the fiscal year, not the calendar year, then, that will make everything easier for them. And then from that point, once the fiscal year is over, we'll start transitioning more things to Bank of America.
Excellent.
Come on in, gentlemen.
When's the fiscal year?
The fiscal year ends September 30th.
9/30, okay.
Yep.
We're taking
So anything else you all would like to?
How you doing, Tim?
on that?
I think it's a great idea. I did go over and sit with Julianne for a while, just really, since I was signing checks, and it, you know, I wanted to have a little more knowledge of everything.
We got her on that check account, because every time we move from Ponce Inlet over to Julianne's office.
And for me, it's very close, but anyway, so, I did spend some time with her, and, you know, she thinks, of course, we've gotta do some negotiation with Bank of America and make sure we're gonna get an interest-bearing checking account, et cetera. But, you know, getting the credit card transfers going now, so we can, you know, make sure everything's online, and then get rid of that, Chase card.
Right, and just as a reminder, the reason that it's important to get the credit cards transitioned over is that we get 2.6% cash back on all of our credit card spending. We're not getting any cash back from Chase. So that will give us, some money, and we spend a fair amount. We spend around $25,000 a month in, credit card
And that's
charges.
one of the reasons I think Chase gave Victoria a runaround to try to cancel the card. I mean, the hours, one day I spent almost 2.5, 3 hours in her office while we were being bounced around trying to get Chase to cancel the card or add me to it. And we finally just gave up and said, when we make the transition over to the new executive director, we'll go ahead and make the move and move it over to them.
Well, hopefully we'll have everything so that it'll just close it out, we'll be done with it, but, you know, as soon as the Bank of America stuff is done. But you know, in talking to Julianne, she is, you know, looked at all our financials, said moving 500,000 over isn't gonna cost us any problems in our ability to continue paying all the other things that are deferred.
Well, makes good sense to me.
It does.
Okay,
So do we need a motion to do that?
we do.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we transfer $500,000 from our Fifth Third savings account to Bank of America.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, we'll take public comment. We have no public comment. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
So the next thing on the agenda, is the approval of the executive director's contract and, the approval to reimburse legal expenses for Dr. Falberg. And I think we need Ben here for sure for the, executive director's contract, because we had a discussion today about, the insurance and whether it was a stipend or whether it was something else. And I think he needs to cover that with you all rather than me. So do you mind if we go ahead and start on the approval to reimburse legal expenses to Dr. Falberg?
Not at all.
Okay, so with the whistleblower complaint, there was a concern that there could be some, fallback, and I'm not sure I'm using the right words, but some fallback to Dr. Falberg. And, with that, she entered into a contract with a private attorney, and.
That's what we do.
Oh, so
Everybody at the same time, we were just talking about it.
Wow.
So she entered into a contract with a private attorney, and I
Wait.
understand.
For sake of where we are,
Okay,
we'll start over.
all right. So, we are under new business, and we're talking about approval to reimburse legal expenses for Dr. Falberg. And with that, she had contracted, or I say contracted, she retained an attorney, in the amount of $3,500. And,
I'm sorry, if I may, I think that's premature at this point, because the litigation hasn't technically been completed, so I
I
would
said
recommend you
we wait until
continue
it was
this.
completed.
Yeah.
and that was basically what I was going to say at that point, because I found out today as well.
And I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make up for your lost time, because I was late and I went to the, wrong location.
So what is the implication of having to wait? Is it for sure that if we ended up going to court, she would have to pay that back if for some reason we lost it? Or can we as a board just make a motion to give her $3,500?
Under the state statute, you could not legally reimburse her for wrongdoing. And until the case settles, there is a chance, whatever, odds we wanna lay on it, that this could go to court, litigation could ensue, and the court could determine that there was wrongdoing. And so, until either one, the case settles, and we've had a shade meeting, so we can't discuss too much the
Right.
particulars of the settlement in an open meeting, but until the settlement agreement is actually fully executed, and there's no more prospect of litigation between the two parties, you shouldn't pay her, because you run the risk of paying her without authority and respect to do that. So,
Basically, what we talked about eviction.
right. And I'm sorry.
No.
I talked with Dr. Fallberg a little bit earlier, probably not too long after, you talked with that. I don't have any reason to believe that the case won't settle at this point, it's just getting everything signed and all the boilerplate agreed to at this point. And if it appears at some point that that's not going to be the case, and we may even have a shade meeting, then we'll have that shade.
Okay, so,
So the next item on the agenda, we're
well,
hopping back.
before we hop back, we need to have a motion to continue.
Maybe just table it. If you table it, you don't have to make a date certain, it's laid on the table. So
May I just ask a question?
Okay, out of the new contract with the new, executive director, is that the same information that I'm reading on number 8B about the indemnification, et cetera? Indemnification, et cetera?
Yeah, this language is not, this isn't any different than the current contract.
Okay,
So, we need a motion, right?
well, okay.
Table.
To table consideration.
So,
Table it.
yes, I'll table the, Fallberg reimbursement.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and second, do we have any commentary from you? Yes, sir.
Just for curiosity, following this for a long time, is the, I'll say lawsuit against her personally or the organization?
Dr. Fallberg is a named party in the lawsuit, since that's a public fact, if I'm comfortable sharing that with you all in a public meeting.
Thank you.
All right,
All right,
we
so,
have a motion and a second, and, we'll take a vote, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0 for the record. Director Panaggio has arrived, so the notes reflect his arrival, presence as well as, okay. We'll jump back now.
so the next item on the agenda is to approve, the executive director's contract. And all of you have had an opportunity to look at that. Do you have any discussion on any of it before we get into one point that we need to discuss?
Okay, so, one is just a typo, and it's on page 3, under, 3.2A, and it says, interfere with the right of the employee to resign at any time from his, I think her pronoun is her.
I see that.
Yeah, and then is, this is a question, on that same page, under 3B annual benefits, is 5 days carryover, is that what we've been doing, and is,
This was verbatim from the former
Okay.
director's contract.
okay. All right, and another, I think it's a couple of things. I don't think I understand on page 5 constructive termination. If you could just explain that to me.
Yes, give me a second just to look at it, please. I don't mean a second, maybe like 30 seconds.
Okay.
Second would be fine. So there's two events under this contract provision, which is the same as the former director's contract provision, that would constitute constructive termination that would then allow the executive director to consider herself to have been terminated without cause, meaning she would be able to obtain whatever severance would otherwise apply for a without cause termination. And those two conditions are, one, if you as a board were to reduce her salary in an amount that was greater than the percentage of some across-the-board reduction for all shelter employees. Let's say there's a cost-cutting measure and you all say, we need to reduce the employee salaries across the board by 10%. We're not in that situation in that event unless you say, and reduce the executive director's compensation by 15%. Or in the absence of an across-the-board reduction, you said, we need to reduce the board's, pay by more than,
Okay.
yeah, okay. So that's one condition, and then the other condition is if the shelter as an organization, continues to refuse following notice from the employee to comply with any other provision. Say, for example, we just decide to stop giving the health insurance stipend. The executive director sends us notice saying, hey, you're not giving me my health insurance stipend, and we as an organization continue to refuse to give her the health insurance stipend. That would be an event that could constitute constructive termination.
And then so she would get the,
If she invokes her right to treat that as a without cause termination.
okay, and then where it says under, termination due to disability, where it says, the last line, employee shall receive severance payment as described, is it supposed to be above and not below? I was really confused.
Depends on how you're holding the contract. If you hold it, this way, no, I think it's supposed to be above it.
Okay, I
We can
thought
fix
that was
too.
just a typo.
Yeah.
So I actually read this. Yeah, those were,
I was actually, standing on my head. No,
so, okay, so another typo that needs to be
Another
fixed.
typo.
Okay, all right, those were my questions, thank you.
All right, so we had another question, that arose from a meeting that Susan and I had where we were discussing this. And there's $1,000 to go toward insurance. The way that was done with Victoria is she chose our healthcare insurance. She chose a higher plan than most of than any of the other employees. But,
How's it goes north?
should we wait on the minute?
Yes.
Yeah. You were outvoted.
I said, I think so.
Oh, I thought you said no.
No, I didn't say no.
I think you're really
I think
saying
so.
no.
Yeah, you're a pretty good guy, you wanna keep,
Okay, he's here.
Okay, to get back to what I was saying,
Lost on those sides, you know?
this $1,000 that's in the contract, mirrors what it was for Victoria. Victoria used our insurance plan, she just chose a higher one, and the $1,000 was to offset her cost for that. Susan will not be using our Florida healthcare plan, she has, outside insurance. And so the amount you're paying is probably not $1,000. So then what do we do in that case?
So the question is, because the agreement as worded says that if First Step Shelter provides a general health insurance plan, the stipend will be paid toward the premium cost under the plan. What do we do where the employee doesn't want to participate in the plan? So, there's one of two fixes, it depends on what you all want to agree to. One fix would be to say, the employee could at her election, decide to be in the general plan, at which point the stipend would go toward the cost of that plan. And if not, the stipend would continue to be paid to her, or, if you want to be more granular, you could say, the stipend would be paid to her for, Medicare, up to the actual, cost of the plan. I don't know if it's less or equal or more than, less than or equal to or more than $1,000 a month. The simple thing would just be to provide her the $1,000
Let her
stipend
have
a
the
year for the option of
$1,000.
applying to the general plan if she participates.
Her
That's
plan's-
actually a much easier written fix than what I've just articulated.
And her plan is gonna change from year to year.
Yeah,
Right.
and
I mean, it's not going to be the same,
Right.
right?
let her have the $1,000.
Is there anything, like a plea handbook that says this kind of stuff or not?
I don't know if there's anything in the employee handbook that says that kind of stuff, but this is a contract employee and you create different terms for that employee than for your employees generally. So, if you look at page 3 of the contract,
As far as S.
in paragraph 2, the easy fix here is in the bottom paragraph of that page.
Mhm.
It's the 4th line of that paragraph that begins with the words insurance coverage. And what it currently reads is, in the event the employer provides group health insurance to employees generally, I would just add, at employee's option, this stipend will be paid toward the group, toward the group insurance. And if the employee doesn't opt that way, then the rest of the provision works to have it directly to the employee. So, I would just add at the beginning of that second clause of that second sentence, 3rd sentence, at employee's option. And then you fix that situation,
She would automatically get the $1,000 a month.
unless she opts to have it applied for the group health
That's
insurance.
fine.
All right, do we have a motion to
I'll make a
do as, stated?
To make that change and fix the 2 typos,
Yes.
so we don't have to read the contract upside down.
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we do that $1,000 and apply it to the employees' benefits, et cetera.
Pretty much says that, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Motion and a second.
yeah, it kind
Employer
of,
shall pay employee $1,000 per month as
Exactly.
a health insurance stipend in lieu of providing health insurance.
Well, it's just the 3rd sentence seems to say that if, just because there's a group health plan, it will be paid toward the group health insurance automatically without choice on her part. So this just clarifies it and reduces error.
so just add employees
Add
option
employees option,
in the
yeah.
event of employers.
I've already done it, and what we're gonna do is, since I think we had a copy of the contract available for the mayor to sign, we'll just have an initial those
Okay.
3 spots at the end of the meeting. And we'll have, new director Clark, initial those same spots.
So motion was by Tornator, would anybody second it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
we got a motion, we got a second. Any public comment? Okay, hearing no public comment, all those in favor?
Hold on, is that just for the changes we're making?
Yeah, just those 3
Yeah.
things.
Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay, so the typos and then that, yeah.
All right, is this approve the contract?
Yes.
Yes.
This motion is for the approval of the contract?
Yeah.
With those changes.
With those changes.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. This motion carries at 7-0. Welcome aboard.
You may now move to the table.
Why not?
Yeah, move to the table.
So what is
He's on the board.
the start date now?
Look.
First day tomorrow. You said-
Contract starts July 14th, their start date's August.
Correct.
Yeah, August 3rd.
Oh, okay. Executive Director, board comments. Do we have any comments from the members of the board? Yes, sir. Mayor Lester.
So I know that when we were still searching for somebody, it was discussed that the former executive director now would still be on doing consulting work, with helping with, writing, grants. He has, yeah, do this or not.
It is a recreation center.
Still warm.
That's why I kind of.
Warmed it up for you.
Go ahead.
Your nose looks good, man. Your nose looks
so
good.
I'll just kind of start over.
I mean, it healed quick.
I know that when we were searching for an executive director, that the former executive director was gonna stay on as a consultant or whatever, or needed a basis to write, the, grants, yeah. But I believe that the new executive director has grant experience, so are we still gonna keep Victoria on for a certain time, or do we, has the board discussed
It's
anything?
gotta be at least until she starts.
Well, yeah, may I answer that question?
Okay.
What I believe should happen is, there is still grant reporting to be done, and Victoria will have to move that to Susan and explain it to her and help her understand how we write our grants, because every situation is unique. You know, our shelter is a unique shelter, so she will need to understand what makes us be able to get that grant money at our shelter. Am I correct? Plus, understanding what's out there that still has to be reported on. That's the grant part of it. We still have her so that she can answer questions for us on a monthly basis. I probably call her at least a couple of times a day to say, tell me who you talk to here, or what do we do there? So I believe that we should probably continue that until there's no longer a need.
And that was gonna be my next question too, is that, you know, since we have a new director and, you know, the shelter's growing, and, you know, it's not the same shelter it was the day it opened, is it worth exploring just having somebody that we can use as a third party to write grants for us, so that the new executive director can focus on just the day-to-day operations and, you know, focusing on shelter needs? Just, it was
She
just a
was
question.
shaking her head no over there, so.
And I said my head no over here. We don't wanna do that. If she
Well,
says that, we-
I saw your head shaking, I don't want to speak on your behalf.
Yeah, absolutely, I mean,
Well-
I'm about ready to hit the ground running in regards to picking up, both of those functions, in regards to day-to-day operations and grant writing. So, and it will be an easy transition once I, spend an hour or two with Victoria to pull over what she has, cause she has to give me access, to all the grants that she's written and, you know, the information there and the reporting structure, but once that's done, you know, I'll be ready to pick the ball up and run with it, and apply for more. And, you know, we got some great staff out there, I've been out there a couple times already, and we got some real good staff that really, you know, it's, shelter looks like it's running pretty strong, so.
Ben?
At this point, I need to suggest another amendment to the contract. I have the commencement date for employment as being July 14th. And you're not starting until what date?
Offer letter, we identified August 3rd.
Okay. So, if you let them, and they've already voted to approve this, but section 2 of the contract, needs to be revised to have, your employment start on August 3rd, and continue to 3 years from, we'll leave it at the commencement date.
Where is that? on?
Page 3, section 2, first sentence, and I'm just gonna change that to commence on August 3rd, 2020.
Who made the original motion? Roseanne?
Yeah.
You made the original second, so can you, make a motion, or doesn't matter, a motion to reconsider? Is that what we need to do?
Amendment.
And you amend your motion?
Yeah,
So you said it was, I'm just trying to find it here so I make sure I read it correctly. You said it's under, what page?
Page 3,
Yeah, that's where I was looking, I don't see it on there.
page 3, section 2,
Mine says duration.
duration at will.
Duration at will.
right.
I'm not seeing it.
Employment under this agreement shall, it says, continue for a term of 3 years from the commencement date. The commencement date is
Is what's on here.
14th of July, which is the very first sentence of the contract. So we're gonna change that to read, employees' employment under this agreement, take out amended and restated, shall commence on August 3rd, 2026, and continue for a term of 3 years from, and we'll say the commencement date, to give you not quite a 3-year term.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Hopefully I got that on.
Well, I've got it here, and it's gonna be signed after the meeting.
Okay.
I'll second that, I guess.
Okay, so we made a motion to reconsider, and now we'll make a motion to correct the date and keep the changes as originally motioned. Okay. Do we have a vote?
So that was Tormator and Leslie?
Correct. So we got a motion, got a second. All those in favor, before we have any public comment? No public comment? All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries, 7-0. Okay. So that was attorney comments. We read, Leslie, do you have other comments?
No, just other than, welcome aboard, and, we're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, likewise.
Likewise.
Yeah, I wanna just commend this team on this board, going through that process was really cool. And, Mike, I appreciate your kind of leadership on a lot of the questions, and I just think we did the right thing, and welcome aboard.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Mike's been around the horn, that's for sure. Yes, ma'am.
I know that. Welcome.
Thank you.
Ladies, start.
Well, I have just a couple of things we need to talk about with the school year starting. Do we need to amend the date of the day or day of the week, that we are meeting? Right now, it's the second Monday in, the month. So the next one would be August 10th, which is a Monday. Are you available then?
That's not a good date.
That's why I was
Usually
asking
the
the
first
question.
week of school.
So-
That'd be a perfect day you get away.
Would you prefer that we move it up a week
I
or
would like
back
us to
a week?
move it to, up a week would probably be even easier. August 3rd would be easier.
So would anyone in here have a problem with the first week in the month instead of the second week in the month?
I'd have to look at my calendar.
You just do it August 3rd the first time, and then go back to the second.
We can, if that's what you prefer.
August 3rd.
Okay. And I may amend the location based on what the date is. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you all is that we will be starting the budgeting process very, very soon. So Susan may reach out to you and ask you to help her submit some of the funding that we currently have, or maybe increase some of the funding for what we have or what we would like to get that's in addition to. So I just wanted to remind you of that. And that's really all that I have.
I've got one item that's not on the agenda, but it's something that I hadn't talked about with you yet, Susan, but I know I need to give you a briefing on, Sunshine Law and Public Records Law. And so, and Kathy and Susan, if you want to have your senior staff sit in on that session, I'd be happy to do more than just, meeting with two people. And to that end, although, this is a purely optional thing, if any of you board members have an interest in attending that, please let me know in advance. We have to at a board meeting in order for you to attend. But, most of you, because you have either a lot of experience on this board or because you are serving with other jurisdictions, you're already familiar with the Sunshine Law and Public Records Law. But,
I would have said yes, I'd like to listen, but not if it involves having to go through the whole formal process.
right, and so if there was a possibility that two or more board members might be in attendance, we have to make that a public meeting. So, does anybody else on the board have any interest in attending that?
We have to go as as a council person.
Right.
We have to go once a year, every year, 4 hours.
Oh, yeah, I'm going July 15th.
Ethics and sunshine. Ken goes.
So much or too much.
Yeah, so if it's just me,
If
it's
it's
okay.
just you, you're welcome to
Yeah,
come along.
that's what I think.
Yeah, now we'll only be hitting sunshine on public records law. The code of ethics for public officers does not apply to this organization. However, we do have ethics, conflict of interest provisions written into our policies and procedures. So,
One of my parents has been one of the main pictures of the ethics for the last 20 years.
For violation.
And her husband ended up going to prison.
I was joking, you know.
I'm serious, I'm serious. It's like Jimmy Jones when he was having his employees put his gold bosses on his house.
So when is this meeting
I mean, I'm
going
going
to
back
be?
years.
well,
We'll have to see.
we're gonna schedule it. Yeah.
Another
All right.
If I'm available, I'd love to attend. If
Well,
it
well-
turns out I'm not, it's fine.
We'll send you an invite.
Yep,
Okay.
And if you and another board member show up, we're gonna have to turn both of you away.
yep, got it, understood.
Alright.
Kavish.
All right, we'll take public comments.
I have a
Yes, sir.
question. This board doesn't have a code of ethics. I mean, every other board in the city does.
This is not a city organization, this is a private corporation, and the corporation, has conflict of interest provisions in its written policies and procedures.
Does anybody have to fill out a financial statement?
No, that's something that the code of ethics for public officers requires.
Or is it different? Ian?
Interesting.
Total crackpot idea just occurred to me. What about having the First Step Shelter become its own taxing district? I don't know what that procedure is.
Why?
Well, just because it would be a way to raise money for all over the county.
The legislature would have to approve the creation of the First Step Shelter as a taxing district.
And this current legislator is not very fond of taxing.
Well, it's just an idea.
Yeah.
It just seemed like
Where will we tax though? What district will we tax?
Volusia County.
Or all of our municipalities?
Right,
and
kinda
all of
like the-
places that
right.
partner with us? Oh, that's very interesting. Oh, we have interesting ideas. I understand that. Yeah, I wish that were possible. That's why I was asking the question, so I could say. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Do you want, just on what we're talking about, or any comments?
Yeah, just,
Okay, well, I'm glad we're on track now, and it looks like we're in all the oars are in the water. And, now that this is settling down, I always think long-term, like down the line. I was very interested in when Dan, I think, the guy that works at the shelter, came in and said, like, SMA sent us 63 people into the shelter, but they don't support the shelter. I found that very interesting. And municipalities that are sending us people that don't help us with the shelter. That's something I'd like to see. You can't rush into something like that. You gotta, as a group, you guys gotta find out how you address that. I don't think that should be made with phone calls. I think that should be, you guys as a group, whatever you do, you send a letter to somebody that represents the city and say, hey, you send us people, but you don't support the shelter. Is that a need that you need, that we're providing? We could always use help. I mean, however you'd go about it. But I was a little alarmed that SMA sent us 60-something people. And I just found that odd, that's all. When they're in the business of doing that, in a way. I mean, I found that very odd.
I just have a question though, and Ben might notice, does cities that don't participate in the shelter, are they able to refer people to the shelter?
That is an interesting question, and I think the full answer to that question may require a bit of discussion between, First Step Shelter and Volusia County, maybe Daytona Beach, but definitely Volusia County. The reason why I say that is because, and I don't have the contract in front of me, but the three-party agreement that renewed the grant that the city and county are both giving the First Step Shelter contains language that I believe could be read to require, First Step Shelter to take in people from throughout Volusia County. Then the question would become, would the county consider it to be a violation of the contract to require an entity, an established entity such as Stuart Marchman or one of the municipalities have a cost participation agreement in order for them to be accepted? I think it's worth ironing that out with the county, before proceeding with any, formal steps such as demand. Certainly an ask, I don't think would breach any of the contractual language, whatever that language is. And again, I don't have the contract in front of me, but I think there is a possibility that it could be an issue under that grant.
I have a question. From the beginning, we had talked about it when we started the shelter, about people bringing people in that weren't participating. Now, the county's talking about, to the best of my knowledge, they are talking about reducing their amount that they're gonna give the shelter. Or suppose they just say, listen, we're not going to budget it this year. So I think that this needs to be addressed, and, on the possibility of that.
Okay. Did you have something else? No. So that concludes public comment. Yes, ma'am.
Just comment, we also need to look at making sure we renew with both Advent and Halifax Health. Cause that runs out the end of the
She told
fiscal
us.
year.
Yeah.
That was why I brought up the budgeting, that we may ask you to help us with existing and possibly in
I
future.
mean, we need to be working on that now.
And before this election in November, this ballot measure is gonna affect what Advent, well, not Advent, but what Halifax has available to them, help our community, pretty much like that.
That will probably, I believe, affect next year rather than this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
next year.
So do we need to be setting up a meeting now with both Halifax and Advent?
Probably. The answer to that is, I believe we probably should.
I was gonna ask Victoria, does she have contact that is?
Believe I have the names of those contacts.
There's no reason, I mean, is that something you guys, would want to do, but we do it like this, there's no problem with that.
Normally,
Ah.
we're in deep times. But I will go out to lunch this week.
Perfect.
You can.
Great.
I got your message.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Ben, can I ask a question about Sunshine Law Center? If I wanted to talk to the board, the president, et cetera, here, the executive director, I can talk to her without, it's not interfering with Sunshine Law. So any one of us could talk to.
Yeah. With one caveat. that-
Okay, yes, I'd like to know what that is.
If, say for example, your message to Susan was, I think Derek ought to know that I'm gonna vote in favor of this. And I'd be interested in knowing what Derek is planning on voting, if Susan will ask him. So if you're using somebody to triangulate between the conversation that you can have among yourselves,
Right.
then you have an issue. Yeah. But I, look, it's such a no-brainer, obvious violation. I don't assume any of you would ever do that, but for the record, you shouldn't do that, so.
Right, I understand that.
So, just real quick on what Ben was saying before though about the cities that don't participate, that are trying to refer people to shelter, is that some kind of thing that we should give direction on now, on what our plan of action is on this thing, or if you guys wanna just wait until next time to talk about it?
I think what we ought to do is allow the executive director to have some time to build a
There you
relationship
go.
with all the municipalities. I'd certainly love to see you at Fort Orange and share the success and what your plans are and build that trust with them so that they could contribute more. Cause I'm one guy there asking for more money, and you coming, so I think if we give 12 months and see what cities are participating and sending people to us, but not participating in funding it, then we can approach that at that time. Let's give her some time.
Is that the direction we wanna go in?
I think she would probably already had that in mind, right?
Top of my list, absolutely.
Cause they're gonna find out about it at my next meeting, if they're
Sure.
the executive director, and I'm sure
Absolutely.
they might wanna meet you.
Yeah, and if you wanna come to my meeting, give a presentation, just let me know ahead of time and I'll have the city clerk reach out.
Absolutely, will do.
Alright. Okay. Alright, I don't have any comments. This concludes our meeting.
Right.